Hey Laura, how are you? Hi.
Hi. Oh, I thought I'm muted. No, I'm good.
You're good. This might be the first time. Hi, Laura. This might be the first time that we don't all have interference because none of us are actually going to be sitting in the board.
I don't actually know who's in the boardroom. Is Laura there?
I don't know if Laura had to go. Did you have to go in, Laura, or no? She might not have. She was hoping to be able to do it remotely. So I
Okay.
don't know if she's there right now. It was going to depend on whether or not Jason was able to get things set for her.
We can't hear you, Shelley, so far. Just
Nope.
vaguely, very far away.
Hi, Ainsley.
Hi, Ainsley.
Hello. How
How
is
are you?
everybody?
Good,
Good.
under the circumstances.
Yeah, the usual.
It's becoming usual, yeah.
Worse, doesn't it?
Sorry, Andrea?
I said this somehow feels even worse than before to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just hearing also that none of the kids are going back to school on Monday, you just kind of go, oh, really?
And the unknowns. Like just announce that no one's going back until April so that everyone knows.
Well, that's what, so my one daughter teaches up in Alliston, and she's trying to teach at home, but she's got her two little ones at home. So Wes is only just turned 2 and Claire is 3.5. So they're running around and she's trying to keep them calm and quiet while she's teaching. And she said she's sure that she'll be home until March break, but
Oh,
I hope
wow. That's a long time.
it's a long time. Yeah.
It's crazy to think too that it will have been a full year.
Yes.
Like I remember when we got our first decision at City Hall about staying home, it was like, you might be home until the end of the year. And that sounded crazy.
Yeah.
Now here we are. It seems crazy to think about going back.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
What do you mean, Paul?
Oh, I'd like to get out. You're right, though. It is funny how we have to recalibrate everything, right? So,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Going to work into the gas station are the only places to go these days.
Yeah. When you connect with them virtually or in person on a Monday, how was your weekend? It's like, well, what do you think?
Yeah.
I did some laundry. I went for 2 or 3 walks a day because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
It's really, yeah.
Everyone's into puzzling.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
I just found out, so Kim, our HR manager, she is signed up to do a virtual escape room. So Casa Loma in Toronto is doing them virtually. And you can have people from multiple households that participate in this group. So that might be something worth looking into.
Yeah, we did one actually on Saturday with friends.
Oh.
And it was actually pretty cool. You have to use like Facebook and Instagram to try to sleuth some stuff. And so my one friend, Melissa, she's very, very savvy with her internet sleuthing. She was an anchor to have for that. But it was pretty good. It was a nice experience, at least, or something rather than just watching TV. And
yeah, something different, right?
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, so we're just waiting for Rosanna, I think.
Paul, that's going to give me just 1 second to grab my power cord, okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
That's very important.
Hi, John. I just want it noted I have a lamp on today, so I'm not going to be quite. Poor Diana. I'm sure she just couldn't figure out what was going on that night and when we were interviewing. It just kept getting darker and darker, and I'm trying to lean in, but.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, the perils. I'm not used to working from home and getting everything set up, right? It's just since the stay at home, I've done more in the last week than I did, I think, the previous year of working from home.
Uh-oh.
You were here all the time.
I know. Tyler and I were there all the time. Oh. Hi, Katie.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you feeling, Paul? Oh, maybe he's
Uh-oh.
frozen.
He's feeling pretty cold right now.
Frozen.
Frozen.
I'm back, hopefully.
Well, we can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't see you guys yet either. Sorry, I've had a bad connection all day, so I assume as well joined us. Oh, there we are. Everyone's there.
Paul,
Really?
just don't do your computer restarting trick again.
That's right. At planning meeting, I had when the meeting had first started, I reset my computer right before the meeting, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the meeting starts, I get the icon that shows up. It's got you have forced restart within an hour and a half. So I'm like, great. So I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be a pretty quick meeting. We'll be fine. The meeting starts going, and of course, they pull items, and it goes on. There's an item where I'm like, okay, I think I'm safe. I'm going to restart it really quick. I'm going to shut things down, come back in, and someone's asked me a question. And so I'm like, crap. And so I had asked them to repeat it. And anyway, that was probably more than everyone needed. But
Yes, my restarts take about an hour.
yeah, so
Yeah, your connectivity's not all that
That's right,
great either, is it,
exactly.
Rosanna?
No.
No. Well, we'll see.
That's true.
Mine has been freezing a little
Okay,
bit.
so-
So hopefully we'll be fine.
we'll have a lot of empathy with each other, and hopefully we'll bail each other out if we need to as well. So good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's great to see everyone tonight, our first meeting of the new year, and hopefully everyone had a really good holiday. Just before we begin, I just want to note that I've been advised that there's members of the recommended tenant advisory council that are on the call that are listening in. So welcome. I'm glad you've taken the time out of your night to join us, and hopefully you find it interesting as well. And thank you very much in advance for your interest in the council. I'm going to turn things over then to Andrea before I call the meeting to order officially to introduce Diana.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Paul. Just before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment and introduce everybody to Diana Teplishvili. Diana has joined us this past Monday in her new role, in her new role as Director of Finance and Corporate Services. So this has been an interesting start, and it'll be one of her legacy stories to tell through the years about trying to onboard at a business through a pandemic and meeting with all of her staff virtually. But I think you've connected with everybody. So if you want to just take a minute and say hello, Diana, to.
Thank you, Andrea. Hi, everybody. It's nice meeting you. As I was told, as already was told, it's my fourth day today with the company. It's a very exciting period in everybody's life, I'm sure. But I'm very, very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with you all. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, we're excited to have you, Ms. Tapley. It's great to have you on board. So, all right. Well, with that, we're going to call the meeting to order then. The first thing we'll do is the recognition of the Indigenous Peoples and Lands Statement. So we'd like to begin by acknowledging the treaty territory of the Anishinaabe, which is defined within the pre-Confederation treaty known as the London Township Treaty of 1796. Throughout time, this region has also become the current home of the Haudenosaunee and Lenni nations. From there, we'll go into completion and acceptance of the agenda. The agenda has been published and before everyone. There is one additional item that I am aware of. So for 9B, we'll have an update on the board reorganization from Ms. Wilcox for the item that went before Strategic Priorities and Policy Committee back in December. Does anyone have anything else that needs to be added tonight? Seeing none, can I have a motion then to approve the agenda? Ms. Wilcox, thank you. Seconded by Mr. Milson. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It is carried. That's great. Disclosures of interest. Does anyone have anything to disclose related to the items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on then to the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. So because we didn't have our December meeting, if you'll recall, we circulated the minutes for the meeting and they're on the agenda formally tonight. as well as the minutes from the December the 2nd meeting. Are there any questions related to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, could I have a motion then to receive or to approve both minutes, both sets of minutes? Thank you, Ms. Anderson, seconded by Ms. Wilcox. Appreciate it. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That's great, they're carried. Next, we're moving into communications. So we've received 2 communications from the service manager related to maximum household income and for single refusal. Ms. McKenzie, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to speak to for these items at all.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I'll just to let you know for the first one. So it's HDN 2021-249. This is for the housing income limits. There's not really anything that the board needs to be aware of. This is part of the annual service manager information return. So we provide information to the service manager on how many of our households are below the housing income limits and then also them below the high need limits. So this is just an adjustment. It's the first time we've seen sort of this level of adjustment in a couple of years. So we just need to incorporate those figures into our calculations when we're providing our report into the service manager, which will happen, should happen probably in March.
Great.
So that's it for the first one. For the second one, it's related to HDN 2020-248. This is on the change to the Housing Services Act. So this is a reduction. The previous legislation had allowed up to 3 offers for individuals to be housed, and now they are reducing it. The legislation has changed to reduce it to a one offer. There are some provisions for internal reviews. So I think realistically, the only impact that this will have on us organizationally is that it should speed up some of the process of our being able to offer and house individuals. We won't have to wait quite as long in between, and we'll be able to move through the list a little bit faster. That's sort of what we're anticipating will be the benefit from that change to the housing division's notice. That's it for me. Thanks.
That's great. Any questions on the communications? Seeing none, can I have a motion to receive? Ms. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Milson. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? They are received. That's great. Okay, moving on to delegations. So we have one delegation tonight. It's KPMG related to the audit plan that's before us. I'll turn things over to Ms. McKenzie. I see Ms. Denbach's here to join us again this evening. Welcome back. It's great to have you. So with that, Ms. McKenzie, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Through you, Chair, tonight we've got Katie Denbach, and I'm going to do the best I can, Dania, with your last name, Nabhani, I believe is how it's pronounced, are here with us. They're just going to go over the audit plan, a report that's been provided for your information. This is as outlined in the declaration of the sole shareholder, and the auditor will be engaged in preparing and providing reports back to the board, just so that you're aware of the, I'm gonna forget my words now, just so you're assured of our fiscal and financial responsibility that's being managed within the organization. So I'm happy to turn it over to Katie and Dania and let them take you through the report.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for having us here this evening. So what we were hoping to do is just walk you through sort of the highlights of the report. So I'm going to start on page 1 of our report, which is the executive summary. And I think the main point I want to make here is just this document is really our primary means of communicating with you as those who are charged with governance over the LMCH, that anything that we're required to communicate as part of Canadian auditing standards, or anything that we think would be helpful for you to know. So this time we're coming forward with our audit plan, which includes the relevant details of our audit plan. And then at the completion of our audit, we come back with our audit findings report, which goes over any required communications with you. For example, if there are audit differences that are noted or control deficiencies that are noted as part of our audit, those get communicated to you at that point. moving on to pages 2 and 3, these are just something that we're communicating with all of our boards and committees that we're talking to with respect to COVID and just the additional considerations that we make as part of our audit planning that are COVID related. And so some, but not all of these might be applicable to the audit, to this audit for the Housing Corporation. So this kind of just goes over the different financial reporting implications, potential implications on internal controls, disclosures in the financial statements, as well as other reporting considerations on things like cybersecurity. So those are all sort of additional risks that we look at through a COVID lens these days as we're undertaking our audits. And on the page 3 there, we've kind of gone into a bit more detail around how we've incorporated those into the planning and risk assessment piece that we do for our audit, as well as we note here that we anticipate completing our audit remotely. We've been doing it for the better part of a year now and certainly haven't run into any difficulties in doing so. And so I don't anticipate there to be any issue there completing the audit as scheduled, even if we are still in a remote environment at the time. And I'll hand it over to Dania to talk to more specifically to some of the audit risks that we've identified.
Thank you, Katie. Starting from page 4, on the next couple of slides, we've included our audit risks. So on page 4, we have the fraud risk from revenue recognition, which is rebutted as management's performance is not based on earnings. And on page 5, we've got the fraud risk from management override of controls. So this risk is not rebutted, and we will be performing procedures to address that. On page 6 and 7, we have included some other areas of focus and our planned audit procedures to address them. These areas are consistent year over year, and other than like one additional area we've identified on page 7, which is throughout our meetings with management, we were aware that there were some changes in the finance team, and we will take that into consideration in our audits. And on page 8, this includes the details of our materiality, the materiality calculation, which is consistent with the prior year, and we will continue to reevaluate the calculation throughout the audit based on any identified changes. So the materiality calculation is based on a benchmark, and the percentages as per the Canadian auditing standards. And I would just like to point your attention to the audit misstatement posting threshold, which is the number that would be most kind of relevant to you, as this is what we will use to communicate any differences that we identify throughout the audit. Moving to page 10. So we've included here some reading materials regarding the audit quality for your reference. And page 11 includes and outlines some of the key dates and deliverables that are relevant to you. Page 12, so this includes a new auditing standard relating to the auditing and accounting for estimates. So this standard will require us to inventory all of the estimates in the statements and has an increased testing and documentation requirement. We've also included in Appendix 6 some reading material that would help you understand the extent of this standard and the changes relevant to it. Page 14, this outlines our expected fees, with our base fee being remaining consistent with just some inflationary increases. And Katie will take it over from here.
And then in the appendices, our report looks very long, but there's a lot of just sort of added information for the board here. So a lot of it contained in these appendices. In Appendix 1 on page 16, it just goes over the things that we are required to communicate with you. But the one item I'd like to just briefly touch on the bottom right-hand side under required inquiries, we are required to ask those charged with governance their views on any specific fraud risks or any actual or alleged fraud at the organization. And so I'll take a moment here if anyone has something that they want to bring forward, or if you want to confirm that no, you aren't aware of any. Both mine and Danya's contact information is also included in this report. So if there's any anything you want to communicate after the fact, you all have the way to contact us.
Anything for board members to identify at this point?
Shaking heads. Okay, great. Appendix 2 and 3, just some information on our use of technology in the audit and our audit methodology. Appendix 4, I'll just really briefly point out, this is something that we have been providing as a service to clients that involves using the value stream mapping piece of Lean Six Sigma to map out financial processes or processes that are related to the audit. And so I just wanted to put it there mostly for information for you. If there are any processes that you are struggling with that would benefit from an actual workshop to map out and streamline and identify pain points and recommendations and whatnot, that is something that we are able to assist with. Appendix 5 has a series of live links and again just takes you to some information that you might find interesting both in your role as a board member, but also in the other roles that you play within the community. And so there's information there on board leadership, on audit committee, agenda items, on COVID specifically. So just more for your reference. Appendix 6 is the document regarding the change in auditing estimates that Dania was just referring to. And then the last appendix goes through upcoming standard changes for public sector accounting standards. So we've provided the information here. There's a good amount of detail, I think, to kind of give you a heads up on what's coming down the pipeline, although nothing will be effective until the fiscal 2023 year end. So everything got deferred basically by 1 year as a result of COVID. So, so there were some bigger ones that were supposed to hit in 2022 that will now be 2023. And as we get closer to that implementation date, we'll work with management to provide guidance on how to implement these standard changes. And with that, we are happy to answer any questions that the group may have.
Thanks, Katie and Dania. I appreciate that. Questions, comments for our audit team? Ms. Wilcox.
Thank you. And through the chair, just with regards to the lean and audit. So that is, if I understand it correctly, that is just built into the process, isn't it? And is offered to the organization as you undertake your work, or is that separate and apart?
So it depends on the process that we're asked to look at. So the nice thing about doing this type of workshop over financial processes is that it actually does assist with our audit because oftentimes what we have are process narratives that are, sometimes 5 or 6 written pages long. And what that helps us do is to actually put a process map together, which is probably more accurate, to be honest with you, than some of the process descriptions that we see, not at this organization specifically, but just in general. So where the workshop is done for a process that is directly related to the audit, it can be part of what we do. We are doing some of them without an extra fee. If it's a process that's outside of the audit, then there would be an extra fee for that service.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions, comments? Seeing none, so it looks like a great plan, and thank you very much for your advisory services. Appreciate you being here with us tonight and providing us with an overview. I don't think you need any direction from us tonight. Things are well at hand, so the briefing is greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Lovely. Thanks for your time.
We'll log off. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
All right, colleagues, so that brings us then to the consent items. We do have a number of consent items tonight, and just in the interest of meeting organization, I'm wondering if there's any that anyone would like to have pulled for any questions. The rest, if there's no questions, we'll just do omnibus as we go forward. So I'll put that to the board for consideration at this point. You can still have comments, of course, for all the other items, but if there's anything that I understand. Okay, seeing none, does anyone then have any comments on any of the consent items? Ms. Wilcox.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I just had comment on sort of the trend we're seeing with regards to vacancies. And so I know we've seen that rise again, and I'm just, I guess this is sort of a question. I didn't think I needed to pull it though, but just more around, you know, as we're continuing to monitor and implement strategies. And I think in the December report, I'm really pleased at the strategies that are being put in place. This sounds, it's a great, I think, approach, and I appreciate the clarity around all of the sort of mitigation work that's going on to move and drive those trends down. Is this, I guess, just kind of a general question, is it common at this time of the year to see that type of, you know, a bit of a, it's going up again in terms of vacancies?
Ms. Green.
Thank you. And through the chair, I think right now the biggest impact is COVID. A lot of people are hesitant to move. So even with future leases that you're signing, as you can see, a lot of applicants are agreeing to enter into a lease, but some of them are getting pushed to March or April, only because there are concerns with moving. Starting this month with a stay-at-home order in place, we've implemented some restrictions. So our tenant placement staff are only renting units at the family sites and not in high rises. And that's been done for a number of different concerns. First of all, frequently applicants who come to view the units, they come with support services, and sometimes they're accompanied by 1 or 2 additional individuals. So that means additional applicants and again support services in the buildings. And then during the move-in in the buildings, the way our elevators are set up, we don't have a backloading docks. Tenants would have to move in through the front lobby. So we also consider that will create additional traffic, and take an elevator, then this will cause sort of longer wait lines for one elevator. So considering all the minor factors that I won't bore you with, but that's the decision we made, that we will continue renting family site units at this time. And as soon as we can start renting out again high-rise apartments, we will do so again. But we are concerned that this will have impact on our total numbers, because obviously there is now a large number of units in stock that are rent ready, but they're not being rented.
Ms. McKenzie. Oh, sorry, you're on mute.
I think I would be used to this by now. I apologize. Through you, Chair. Just to further to Alyssa Grin's point, we do normally, Rosanna, see a bit of an increase after December. So in the early part of January, there's usually a bump up in the numbers. That's historic. We've tracked these numbers going back probably over the last 15 years. I've got the statistics. And so, yes, there is normally a little bit of a blip. And unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit compounded because we're not going to be able to offer those other units.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I think that's really helpful. I appreciate the additional details on that. And it sort of will help with our sort of expectations over as long as we have a stay-at-home order and all of those pieces, how that will continue to have impact. So thank you very much.
Very true. Further comments on the consent items? So I just have 2. One is on the CEO update about the hiring of the security staff. That's great to see that progressing. So thank you very much. And I think that's going to be a wonderful new additional service that's going to be provided for our tenants and will really help everyone with the communities that we're continuing to foster. The other item is the Reimagine Southdale report, and so didn't want that one to be missed too. That's very exciting as always. I love that the last line of the report is we're all very excited. I haven't seen a staff report like that before, and that made me smile, so thank you. But that's wonderful news for the community. I'm glad everyone's starting to really engage, and the branding looks very good as well, so it's fantastic that we're moving forward. So anything we can do to help support that is definitely available and wonderful to have. So any further comments? Seeing none, could I have a motion then to receive for information all of the consent items, A through G? Thank you, Ms. Anderson, seconded by Ms. Wilcox. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? They are carried. Fantastic. Moving then to reports and business, we'll start with item A, which is the report on the Tenant Advisory Committee membership. Over to you, Ms. Grin.
Thank you. And through the chair, I feel really honored presenting this recommendation to you today on the membership of our first Tenant Advisory Council. It is a tremendous step forward for LMCH to have our tenants' voices and experiences represent LMCH communities, and to have them impact on the organization is really unprecedented. I want to recognize the hard work and dedication of our staff on the community engagement team. They worked tirelessly for many months to make this happen. And I want to recognize our tenants who had the passion and the courage to apply for membership on the TAC. It's never easy to be the first ones, but they are strong leaders in their communities, and they are committed to making a difference and improving the lives of tenants in all LMCH communities. Attached to this recommendation, you will see a summary of the bios of the members. And as you can see, they each bring very different skill sets and very different experiences to the table. But all together, they truly represent the diversity and the resiliency of LMCH communities. So we ask that you approve the 11 members that are named in this recommendation for a 2-year term on the TAC. And with your approval, we are looking forward to have the official start of our first Tenant Advisory Council.
That's great. Questions, comments for Ms. Grin? Ms. Wilcox.
Just a comment. I'm so excited to see this. I think it's just absolutely fantastic for the organization, and I appreciate the dedication and willingness of all of those who have stepped forward, and I'm excited to see what that looks like over the coming 2 years. So just echo my thanks to all of those who have stepped forward and to staff as well.
Further. So just to add to that as well, welcome to all the prospective new members who I'm assuming will be approved very shortly to join the council. Thank you for your desire to serve the community. I really appreciated the inclusion of the anonymized bios. It's a very inspiring group of people, and I'm really excited for the advice and thoughts that they're going to provide to our organization going forward. So, and thank you, of course, to the team for all their hard work in putting this together. That's great. Anything further? Seeing none, we have the motion for the 11 individuals to form our first Tenant Advisory Committee to be brought forward. Who would like to make the motion? Mr. Milson, thank you very much. Seconded by Ms. Wilcox. Any further debate and discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Well, that is carried. Wonderful. And thank you, Ms. Grin, once again for all your hard work on this as well. All right, everyone, that moves us to item B, which is an update on board reorganization. I'll turn things over to Ms. Wilcox.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So likely everyone was able to tune in. So we were presented to the Strategic Priorities and Policy Committee of Municipal Council on, I believe it was December 16th. Last year. It feels so long ago at this point, but it wasn't that, only about a month. So really, really great discussion on the report that we brought forward. Some really great questions from members of council, and all of the recommendations were approved by the shareholders. So that is wonderful news. And so next steps in terms of what that direction looked like, staff were directed, and so that will primarily be working with the city clerk's office to finalize the amendments to the shareholder agreement and to bring that forward. So in terms of timing, they were shareholder was very excited to see this, and also excited to see this start moving in the first quarter of this year. So we've got lots ahead in terms of not only finalizing the shareholder agreement and the amendments to that, but digging into some of the process pieces around recruitment. So working, part of the recommendations, as you will recall, were to establish, with regards to the appointment process outlined in the shareholder agreement, we had recommended in approval to proceed with establishing a subcommittee of the board of directors that would assist with the recruitment and nomination process. So lots of work to do around that, and I might suggest that perhaps that's, I'm not sure what the committee or the board thinks, but perhaps that's a good discussion for something like a committee of the whole meeting, where we could work through some of the various aspects of that. And then, because we had also said that that subcommittee would be comprised of members of the board, but also members of the community and also of OMCH leadership. So that the function would be then to submit nominations once we've made our way through that process to the shareholder for approval, and to have that community-based board back in place. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, but yeah, very exciting.
Great, thanks for that. Questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, there's no report for us to receive or anything like that, so we'll just take the oral update and note it in the minutes that the board did receive an oral update on the board reorganization. So thank you, especially once again, Ms. Wilcox, for all your hard work on it. It's really nice seeing it come to fruition, and yeah, the shareholder was very pleased with the hard work that was done. So thank you. New business and inquiries, moving on. I'm not aware of any from the agenda, and if there's anything that's percolated from anyone as we've been discussing. Seeing none, that moves us then to in-camera matters. The only thing we have is the in-camera minutes, and so I'm assuming the board members have had a chance to review them. Can I have a motion to approve the in-camera minutes? Ms. Anderson, thank you. Seconded by Ms. Wilcox. All those in favor? They are carried. Okay, thank you. And with that, that brings us to the end of our meeting, everyone. I'm not seeing anything else that's outstanding, so thank you very much. Hope you had I hope you have a good evening. Welcome back. Would someone like to move our adjournment? Mr. Milson, thank you very much. Seconded by, I don't think we actually need a seconder, but Ms. Anderson. All those in favor? That's great. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks for all the hard work and putting together the meeting tonight, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a lovely evening.
Yeah,
I
you
will
too.
talk to you
Thanks.
tomorrow.
Take care.
Paul.